Welcome to Can Angels Fly Tarot. I'm Nancy. And today is March 27th, 2019. It's a little shortly after 7 a.m. in the morning. And I'm making this video to log a dream I just had. As you can see, I even washed my face this morning. And I am partaking in my vices. So, you're at home with me. Now, I have to add some disclaimers here, as some of the information that I'll be sharing, the details relative to the dream I just had, may seem racial, and it's just the contents of the dream. So I don't mean it to be racial or politically incorrect in any way, nor to offend anyone. I'm just sharing my dream because I saw. What is it? Something else to make a disclaimer about. I think that's the end of the disclaimer. I just wanted to give you forewarning that there's some kind of racial-based content to the dream that I had. So that's the end of this disclaimer. Now, as far as the dream, um, it was interesting because it was a scene in the dream that made me aware of what the dream was about. And the scene was like this. Um, in reality, I live in Detroit. And Detroit has become quite the renaissance. It was planned. And so a part of the renaissance of Detroit, when I say renaissance, because historically Detroit was known for its automotive industry, the big three, Ford, Chrysler, GM, and the building of the middle class. And so as the automotive industry strength began to fade, Detroit was also synonymous with the Motor City music, and Berry Gordy, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, and different stars like that. Again, the building to the middle to upper class, making certain cultures more wealthy and self-sufficient opportunity. Detroit also had a lot of steel factories and things like that, historically. And when I say historically, that's back in the 1940s and 50s and so on. And that's in reality. So in my dream, I dreamt of a scene that I actually experienced in my real reality. But at the time I was having the experience while visiting downtown Detroit, my home city, I didn't know what it was about. All I know, I was out, and this is in reality. I'm out and about, and I'm just enjoying the summer. I didn't finish my thought. Renaissance of Detroit. Forgive me, I just woke up. Renaissance of Detroit. And so after the automotive industry fell off, and the motor, what do you call it? Not Motor City, Motown music expanded outside of this demographic area. It went worldwide. I think they relocated the central part of the Motown industry to California. I think it followed kind of like Berry Gordy and stuff like that. Detroit really spun down, and I'm talking in reality. I'm giving some historical facts or historical information the way I remember loosely. And so after that, Detroit began to spiral for multiple reasons. The decline as far as the big three, Motown moving away, and then it was the infiltration or the flooding of drugs and various narcotics into the city. Then it was the intentional, over the years, the intentional uh, decay and blight of the city. And it was for a purpose, and the purpose was to take over the city of Detroit. Detroit, I think primarily most of the residential houses were built in the early 1900s, like 1920 and things like that. And so last year when I had this real experience downtown Detroit, the houses and things like that may be about 90 something years old. And with the houses being 90 something years old, a lot of them were made, built, painted, and constructed with poisonous materials, you know, lead-based paint and different things like that. So truly, the houses no longer held their value. They hadn't held their value in years. The initial owners of the homes, I believe, were a lot of Jewish people and Caucasian people and things like that. I could be wrong, but I'm not too far from wrong. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, some of what I say could be taken offensively, and racially is not meant to be racially pointing fingers or anything like this. This is just the information that is relative to this area in my dream and what it means. So for my lifetime, the majority of my lifetime, I watched Detroit decay. And so I would say it took about 35 years for Detroit to decay, intentionally for it to be revitalized. They had to make the atmosphere here, the environment, toxic and a state of deprivation in order to have it be an area that it was slated or has been slated to be revitalized. Detroit is too much of a commodity to let it just die. It's impossible. As you know, Detroit is right off the Detroit River, and therefore any land that's right off the waters is a big marketing place. Up and down the Detroit River are salt mines and different things like that. Even further back, I think in the 1700s, 1800s, it was a trade route. Part of the trade route is what I want to say, where furs were traded and different things like that, animal furs. It's just a lot of commodity or resources here, natural resources here in Detroit, and the waters make it an easy trade route or marketing, easy way to move the market, you know, from coast to coast by waters, shortcut. And you have to remember that many years ago, 1800s, there were no cars, there were no trains or anything like that, but there were ships, and so people could ship again large commodities such as furs and salt and coal. The salt and coal especially are part of Detroit's natural resources. And so another thing that happened historically here in Detroit is that it was the overnight flight of particular races, namely the Jews and Caucasians, in which they overnight migrated to what we call now the suburban areas, and that probably took place in the 1960s and 70s. It's almost like overnight. And then at that time, that's when black families had the opportunity for the first time historically to own their homes here in Detroit. Again, the homes then had to be about 40 years old. The original owners of the properties, as mentioned, Jews and Caucasians, had already lived in these houses, and so they already had, the houses had already aged and was suffering, you know, the wear and tear as natural resources do. And so when African Americans started buying the houses, of course it was a big thing because it was new. Um, new. It was a new time period, and Big Three was allowing people to work and create a lifestyle building of the middle class, an African American middle class primarily. Um, and so after all of that, we go through. When I say we, I'm talking about Detroit residents go through this a phase in which it was this. Uh, uh, Breakdown of the environment for the purpose of taking it to a deprivated state uh, so that it could be again charted, I think is the word I'm looking for, to be revitalized. That is the Renaissance that is taking place at this current time. The Renaissance of Detroit um, is it came on first. It came on slow, and then all of a sudden it was boom, real quick, real fast. Like overnight, things start sprouting up. Detroit was a ghost town for damn near 20, 30 years. As things began to fall off, people couldn't get refinancing, funding, loans, or anything to keep up the businesses, establishments. There was dope running through here, all kind of stuff, violence. So the Renaissance is here now, and so we have a lot of sports arenas. They're using the sports arenas to um, sports arena and things like that to try to begin to promote the Renaissance or the revitalization of the city of Detroit, with many other um, means, different types of means. Number one, I believe that big money is one of those primary means to revitalize Detroit, meaning somebody has an individual has interest, and I can't remember the man that's bought up the majority of Detroit, and so his money has bought up Detroit. Uh, a personal interest person. It's not like it's something where the citizens of Detroit have had the opportunity to buy into the home or the lands that they all know. We were blighted out financially. Then it was the casinos. It was all strategic, all came in strategically. Casinos came in when this was a desolate area. People without no money or hope going down here for entertainment because there was nothing to do here, wasting all their money. Then it was the gold buyback that happened because the United States is in debt to China. That's basically what it boiled down to. People sold precious metals, golds, pearls, everything that they had going to the casinos. That was the final phase of the blighting to wipe out the long-term residents or natives of Detroit, who have been primarily African Americans. Why am I talking about this? Because I had a dream last night, and it finally made sense. So the new revitalization of Detroit now is in full effect, and so yes, the automotive industry still exists and synonymous with Detroit. Of course, Motown, they still try to promote that, but it's still been, like I'll say, outsourced to other parts of the country. And so now they're using the sports area, sports entertainment, to really fund, and private big money to fund Detroit. Again, you got to realize that Detroit is the area that is a hot commodity with coal and salts and different things, furs, all kind of things, right on the natural water. So a trade route. Now we have trains and planes and automobiles. It's a hell of a area as far as capitalistic society or world. And so the people that were permitted to help revitalize or renaissance Detroit were primarily, I believe, the same people that got to leave, and that was Jewish people, um, uh, and we'll say Caucasians, different varieties. Again, I don't want to be offensive, but different varieties of people that could be viewed as Caucasians. Um, and that's just the makeup of our world. Okay, why is that significant? Last year, in real time, I'm still talking about real life, I went downtown to hang out. And remember, when I was coming up Detroit downtown, especially, it was a ghost town. It was nothing to get into. It was nothing at all to get into. Nothing at all. The casinos came later. They came later. And so um, I'm downtown and I'm on a people mover, which is a localized train transportation, locally through the downtown area. And the people movers is up, so you get to look down on what's happening in downtown Detroit as you move through on this people mover. And so I get to this district downtown, and I think the district is called, it's like near the Greek Town Casino and Broadway, just these little stations where the people mover stop. But I look down and I see it's over near Comerica Park. Remember, it's the sports industry primarily they're trying to get that they have to be funding Detroit. So it's like Comerica Park. It's what else is over there? I don't know the name of them all. Comerica Park is the Ford Field. It's another one. And so I'm looking down and I'm seeing, I had been noticing like all summer long that I say, dang, it's a whole lot of Caucasian people. I'm going to say white people because I'm not trying to be offensive or rude, but I'm just saying the fact. So I'm looking down off of this train, this people were saying, there's a whole lot of white people. What time is it? It's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, all summer long. And then while I'm looking at all of these people like going to Comerica Park to take in a baseball game in the middle of the day, I'm looking at Detroit full and blossoming. Now I came up in a period that it was dead. It was nothing to do. It was nowhere to go. Wasn't no money. Well, it was nothing. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the day, during the middle of the week, every day in the middle of the week is folks everywhere, primarily Caucasians, white folks. I'm like, and they were families. It wasn't just like it was just one person. Okay, of course, occasionally, yes, it'll be one person, a couple, but there were families. It looked like it was two families walking together. Everybody, mom, dad, grandma, the neighbor, uncle, cousin, they all dressed up, carrying the stuff with their tiger shirt on or their lions. It depends on what they was going to see, get involved in. And I was like, wow. I said, wow, Detroit is back. I was like, interesting. But in that moment, it wasn't in that moment. So this went on all summer long. It wasn't even last year. It was the year before. Well, I'll say it's been the last 5 consecutive summers, to be honest. The last 5 consecutive summers, slowly. I'm seeing all of these people tailgating in different parking lots and just all kind of stuff. And I'm looking like, what's going on? First I was all happy, summer, like it's summertime, people out and about. But then I want to say it wasn't last year, it's the year before that. So 2016 summer, I want to say, something like that. Or 17. And so I was one of them. And so I'm on this people mover and I look down and I see again all these people going to and forth to different places, eating out, sitting out outside at the cafes and thing. I mean, it was off the chain, shoulder to shoulder, people everywhere in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This went on, like I said, summer after summer. But this day I was on a people mover. I looked and I saw again all these Caucasians, all these white folks everywhere in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. I keep saying it because it's so important and so relevant. And I was like, everybody that I saw working, servicing them were black people. I say, now, how is this that all this time, but this is not the thought I'm having at the time. I did have the thought that why is it only black employees out? And I know it's not only black employees, primarily black employees serving all of these Caucasians or white people. It was last night after I had that scene right there. Now I'm talking about my dream last night. Right there. That scene when I was on the People Mover came to me in my dream last night. And I saw. And it was like when I woke up, I'm dreaming that scene right there where I'm on the People Mover looking down at all the white people and the Caucasians, however you like me to label it, moving around Detroit all over the place with their uh, team logo shirt, lions and tigers or whatever it was on their jerseys and shirts. It was single people, couples, double dating, families all over the city, shoulder to shoulder people, tailgating, doing everything in the middle of the week on a work day at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, every day, all day long. And I remember this one black chick standing out to me. She looked so frustrated in the midst of all them people. She was working. She was hustling and bustling. And after I saw her, that started drawing my focus as I rode the People Mover around downtown Detroit. And all I saw was black people hustling, bustling, going around doing a job, working for whatever business they were working for. Whatever restaurant or bar or whatever. I could see them hustling and bustling in and out to serve the people outside, moving stuff around, driving a go-kart, all of these things. And I was like, wow. At that time, I was like, wow, that's interesting. And that's when I started looking at the crowds of people, seeing very few black people moving in the middle of the day, having leisure in the middle of the day. So, as mentioned last night, when I was having this dream and I dreamt that portion of my real-time experience, I was woke up by slavery. Slavery still exists. Woof, and I said, I was like, slavery still exists. I said, we know this. We already know that there's a new form of slavery. The slavery's just been redefined, costumed. I was like, so I set up, I said, okay. And when I set up and said, okay, everything started flooding in. Those messages or downloads that I tell you I get. And so it started flooding in. It said racism, slavery is strong, it's kicking, it's alive. Ain't never died. It's been costumed. Now, slavery looks like this in the city of Detroit. That in the middle of the week, day after day, summer after summer, that our white, I'll say comrades, our counterparts, Caucasians and other fair-skinned beings, many. Yes, some are at work, but we're talking about racials of people downtown. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people everywhere. And I'm not talking about just that one day. Some of these games be day after day or every other day. I live in the city of Detroit. I see this. I experience this. They are on leisure. While African-American black folks is working, dealing with these folks, they drunk, they disorderly, they be turned up having fun. While these black people, again, aren't a part of that population of people that are on leisure in the middle of the day, in the middle of the work week. During the course of the work week, that we're not a part of that. but we working our ass off. Even though we working our ass off, most of us don't earn enough to even take off a day to go to a game. And oh my God, not to take the whole family. And again, I told you it's going to sound racial, but I'm going somewhere with this. I had a dream. And so I'm looking like, how can all of these, our white counterparts, the Caucasians, how can they take off day after day after day from work, hang out leisure, be on dates and family or community outings to they shoulder to shoulder downtown in a city that was just recently a ghost town? How? How are all of these businesses here now when nobody that was here during the downtime, the blight time, the ghost time, could get any funding to start anything or business, or it was nothing? But now, again, our counterparts get leisure. Where is it? Why are these people ain't off work? How can all of these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people that's filling up Detroit, downtown Detroit area, get off work at the exact same time and there's no repercussion? Ain't that much planning. But in all of this crowd, there's barely one black face in the crowd. Not a black family going to a baseball game or nothing. It just didn't make sense. But again, when I had my dream last night, said racism is alive. It always has been. It never died. And so what we have today, as far as, I mean, not racism, slavery, as a new designed slavery. It's where a particular race of people are not held to the same requirements as like the minority is held to a particular standard. It is slavery is now defined, or what they call it, costumed, or you get what I'm saying, as just paying a person minimum wage or not enough to have a particular lifestyle, barely can sustain a life, can't take off work, working every single day. Now that's bad. Let me try to make what I'm saying clear so you won't think that I'm being this is not racially motivated. That there are certain people in our society that is permitted during the time periods that they work to earn a considerable amount of money or wealth. And it permits them, when they want to not go to work. It permits them to pay their bills, to meet the requisites of life, like the bath, food, shelter of the higher quality, etc., etc., and take off work and leisure for days on end. Where black people are made to work day in and day out for such scraps or crumbs. Yes, they working like a motherfucker, but they're earning only scraps and crumbs, to the point it leads to not to be able to barely meet the requisites of life, to be able to buy food, pay the utility company, keep a roof over their head. And this area is standard housing. I don't care where you live out. These houses are damn near 100 years old. Working your ass off for a black person working their ass off. And I know it's just not straight divided by race. I know it's not. I know that there are people on either side, but I'm talking about the portions. I don't want to say portions. Are people, how the people are, divided. I understand that. But these people going to work, working between 8 to 14 hours every day, working between 40 to 80 hours a week, not earning enough to be able, barely earning enough to meet the requirements of life like food, water, shelter, but and medical, and can't take a day off, scared that they're going to get sick and have to take a day off because it's going to throw everything off and they're going to end up in the hole. How is that? How is that? Some people are working more hours. And people want to say it has to do with intelligence and things like that, or education. Not all the time. That's not 100% of the story. Just like it's just, I know it's not clear cut and dry about it just being black people or just being white people. It's predominantly white people in one sector, and it's predominantly black people that are playing another role. But I'm going to digress from that because what I'm talking about is bigger than this. As I said, what I woke up to is like slavery is alive. It's always been alive. And so I had that flashback to my real time experience when I was looking at it out in the summer, enjoying myself, having fun, not knowing what I was looking at. Life, spirit brought that back to me and said, this is what you were looking at when you were having fun and smiling and, out and about and enjoying the city. This is what you were actually looking at. And what am I trying to say? Last night, I was introduced to the beast that exists here. And I had my time in the church. And I remember when I was in the church, in the book of Revelations, there being story about these different beasts and the beast being described. And, so there's many theories about what the beasts are that were talked about in the book of Revelations. So last night, I was introduced to the beast, these beasts. And so I have to say this, that year before last, 2017, I made a video here on you and posted it here on YouTube called the human, what I call it, the human puss, human puss, Humana something puss, like an octopus, talking about humanity being the animation to a colossal entity that is sucking the earth dry, that is sucking us dry, because we create this actual big old colossal octopus around the earth. Now, at the time I made that video, I was just referring to what I was seeing in existence relative to the tarot cards I had been reading and astrology messages. I saw the beat in the messages. Some, if you're an avid reader, that when you read, some things come alive. It works your imagination. And so in 2017, that's what was happening to me as I was reading the tarot and again studying the stars and following along. I saw that it was showing and revealing this humongous octopus-like figure with its arms wrapped around the earth. And it's called Colossal something. It's in 2 parts. You can go watch it. In that video, I talked about the upcoming volcanic action that will come up out of the Pacific Ocean. That was one of the first major predictions I did. I gave here on YouTube, because it showed something taking place in the Pacific Ocean, underneath the ocean floor, between Easter Island and Hawaii, and how there would be an eruption, and it wasn't going to stop. And it has future implications early in the morning, y'all. Excuse me, early in the morning. I just woke up. Don't matter. And so I talked about how there were going to be eruptions and stuff, and it has to do with what's going on in the Pacific Ocean's floor down in that bedding. That's what set off the original volcanic activity in Hawaii. I talked about that in 2017, I think it was. I guess I was a little too far ahead for anybody to notice, so I pointed out again. But in that video, I talked about this being that I saw. And, you know, so I mean, I was like, okay, I see the creature. I see the creature. And I broke down the creature, how its body was made, how it lives, how it breathes, its brain, its thought, everything. That was 2017, I want to say. And the reason why I bring that back up, because the dream that I had last night took me back to that video after I got up. I was like, that was one being, that was one creature. And so, as I've stated, the dream last night introduced me to other beasts, these beasts that exist here in the physical realm that we can't see. And people that were in a church when we were being talking about these different beasts, oh, we didn't understand what these beasts are. I was introduced to. And you know, if I get some materials, I'm gonna try to paint it out. That's a hard thing. Painting stuff expensive. I was an artist and stuff too. Just ain't had the means to do so now. But I would like to create, you know, paintings and imagery to show it. Now, a lot of religious texts and things show images of the beast. In the Bible, lions with horns and stuff. We would never imagine who these beasts or what these real beasts are really created from or composed of. In that video I made in 2017 about the human octopus thing, I broke it down. But again, I didn't know at the time that it went with the Bible stuff. I didn't know that. When I was on the People Mover, you know, last summer, whatever it was, looking down on the crowd, I didn't know I was looking into like the belly of the beast. I didn't know that. You know, I hear many times that we're in a beast system. Yes, but it's not just one beast. It's many beasts. And so right now, I'm going to talk about the beast that I stopped my line of thought in order to make this video. To video blog, is it? My thoughts and experience and understanding, so I won't forget. And I'll allow myself eventually, when it will permit itself to come upon me again, to sink down into that space of receiving. But I had to stop. I had to stop it from coming in so that, again, I could log some of it. And so that's another reason it sounds confused. Is new information. Talk so much, I'm forgetting part. Hopefully when I get there, I'll remember. Hopefully when I get there, I'll remember. So the creature I was looking at when I was on the People Mover was slavery. And slavery is, I hope I say this right, one of the beasts. Now the beast sizes are different. They vary. How their appearance are all different beasts. So right now I'm just talking about this beast, slavery, and how it's been defined, costumed. And I've shared that this beast looks like this. And this is what I want to say about that. This beast of slavery is an old beast. It's very old. I'm talking about like getting ancient old. You know, some systems, some beasts or systems are ancient old beings or beasts. We know that slavery was real relevant here in the United States in about 400 or so years ago. But slavery had been existed prior. So let's talk about the prior time. When this beast was being developed, the whole concept of slavery. The concept of slavery, or slavery was a concept at one time or another. At that time, that slavery was merely a concept and not real. That creature didn't exist. That beast didn't exist. Over time, that beast, slavery, was created. And so for 400 years, this beast, slavery, has been fed. And now um, it's tamed, um, refined. It almost seems like a wild lion, in a circus. And it has the with a circus ringmaster to tame it and to play with it and prod at it and make it do tricks. That's like the beast of slavery. It is poised and it looks real pretty. You can't see it. You can't identify it. It's its own beast. It's contained. As I said, here in the city of Detroit, and this is just one area. Slavery is worldwide. It's all one beast. Anyway, in my area, it looks like this, that there are certain people, primarily Caucasians, white people, that have more leisure time. They can do more things, partake in more of the comforts of life and the joy and entertainment, while there are other people that don't even have that option just because the way the system is set up, they never earn enough to do such things. That is a particular beast, and that is how it is created. If you notice, when I talk about this beast, all I'm talking about is two different types of people. The beast, each beast is created of parts and portions of humanity that make up. When you did that video about the human octopus thing, humopus, whatever I called it, it was all about people. Very, very different people in the world doing different works or partaking in different activities create these beasts. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the church failed to describe exactly who these beasts were, how they were created, how they were spawned into existence. It failed to allow us to see in the spirit, what are these beasts? As I mentioned, the beast of slavery worldwide looks something like what I saw in Detroit, and that's just a portion of it. It's an invisible spirit. It's an invisible spirit. You can't see it. You have to know it. I was introduced. Now, the being I talked about in the birds were speaking, and they were speaking so loud, I wanted to catch it. In the video I made about the human opus, whatever I called it, I was looking at the time at another beast, another creature. And possibly out of the sea. I remember something about a beast coming out of the sea, out of the waters in Revelation, and devouring. It devours another beast, eat them up. And so the human opus I was talking about in that video, talking about a colossal being, was the title of it, was talking about more of the corporate world, and the makings of it, and the overall making of like the corporate world is what it was about. That particular beast or being, invisible spirit. Then, after I got up, I saw religion. And remember, these beings that Revelations talked about are made up of people and their positions in life and their roles and activities in life create these beings, these invisible spirits that Revelations talked about as beasts. Religion is one of those beasts. And I've heard this before, but I didn't understand. And the only reason this beast, any of the beasts can exist is because of the people, the puppets, that puppeteered that beast or move it or animate it. Like going back to the local Detroit part of the beast I saw. The only way that beast system can stand, that beast can live, thrive, and breathe is because everybody playing a role. And I know you've heard this before. So I'll say if the minorities that are made to work those low, insignificant jobs that cannot even satisfy their basic requirements will stop working, that beast would die. It would die. Corporate world, big business. The way that beast would die, again, we hear this all the time, is to stop working. Stop going to the corporations, the businesses, working for the banks, those employees. But who's going to do that? See, we are living in the spirit realm and we don't even know it. Stop working for like banks and different various institutions. Yes, society will fall apart. That's a whole other thing. It goes so deep. See, I didn't share the last revelation I got. But that will cause that beast to die. Religion now is another beast. And the religions are made, of course, of the various sectors that create religion. And what fuels it or feeds it or animates it are the people, the congregations of the various religions. If you stop, if we stop supporting or adhering to or yielding to the philosophies of these religions, that beast will die. Another one I saw was the military. A military is and I talked about it in the Human Plus video. The military is also another beast. As you know, the military itself is a particular construct, but that construct only works because of the people, because of the soldiers themselves. If people would not fight wars, we hear that there's like, I'm not fighting, that ain't my cause. If people took that mindset and didn't fight, wouldn't enlist, those kind of things, that beast would no longer exist. It would die. Would die. So, in the book of Revelations, I remember it being something like this. I haven't did my post research after the dream that I just had and the awakening. But I remember in the Bible it says something about remember there's a beast that comes out of the sea and it devours the other beast. It eats it up. And so that means that as we move from the old paradigm into the new paradigm or the new world order, the new way of being, that there is a new construct that is under development. And that construct, the skeletal system of it, the plan for it, has already been thought out. Now it's time to breathe life into it. How does man breathe life into a spiritual being? By enlisting people to play the parts, to animate the parts, the arms, the legs, those kind of things. And so as we move into this new paradigm, this new world order, whatever this new construct is, or that is the skeletal system of it, the structure of it, the plan of it, has been already thought out. Now it's time to enlist the people in order to bring life to that beast. This particular beast is what will consume all other beasts or make all other beasts subservient to it. Now, our current president, Donald Trump, and I'm sure he's not the first, but he is an initiator of this new beast, this new colossal, devouring beast. Um, he's setting it up. I saw when I woke up. He's setting it up. And I wasn't thinking about Donald Trump or politics or government or anything, society. I wasn't thinking about that. But this is the revelation that I got. And so a lot of what our current president is doing is lining up the fuel for this beast, or the people to animate this beast. And the evidence is in what is taking place. Everything from the border wall and pushing Mexican people out, that particular minority group out. And right now, there's a lot of things going on that we only know on an individual basis, as far as our own personal worlds, the individual nightmares or life challenges and tribulations that people are going through relative to their own personal life. Primarily focus has been an issue. It's been an attack on people that receive public assistance, and that's been obvious with the food snap thing. And then it's been a lot of talk about people that aren't willing to work, those kind of things. These are the people that will be used to fuel this new beast. Now, I have to say this, that there is a shuffling of people, of humanity, especially in America, primarily America. This beast will come out of America, I see now, because it's primarily where a lot of this shifting is taking place. And when I say shifting, I mean, like, if you have people that are coming out of not working or being welfare recipients, many times that goes hand in hand with the lack of education, a lack of life experience and or exposure, more slaves. These people will be forced to fill subservient roles in various beasts. Therefore, there are people, how can I say this? Remember, there are various beasts that exist, and it's the people that animate the beast. So let's say a person, an individual, is a part of a beast that's already standing, and they've been working 5, 10 years, and they're a little older, maybe a little more life experience, a little more wisdom. They would be shifted into this new beast. So it's like getting a raise or a promotion, a promotion. A lot of promotions I see going on. Promotions is the word. So people will be promoted to other beasts. They'll be slid over to other beasts in order to put I'll say the best of the best into this new beast, this devouring beast that is soon to come. I hope I'm making this make sense. This is a complicated concept, because it is what they call it. It is what kind of concept? I know the word that I'm thinking of, but I can't think of it. It is it's an intangible, not the word I was thinking of, but this is an intangible concept. We are talking about the making or the creation or the engineering of an invisible being, spirit, or beast that will walk this earth. It is not the first. It will be a new beast, but it has it will resurrect, using spiritual terminology. It's going to resurrect or implement old components of the beast. That means that's what it means by devouring it. It's going to take parts from like slavery as a beast. It'll take part of that. Um, as I said, military, various law enforcement. That whole beast itself is going to devour parts of that and make its own. It's going to be its part of this new beast or being. The brain of this beast as well is more sophisticated, more advanced. And as I was saying, that it's the people will be shifted. There'll be promotions, shifting of the people from one beast to the other in order to create this particular beast. Because this new beast, I'm talking about this new beast, that the spiritual being that is being created. The plan, the skeletal system of this invisible beast already exists. It just has to have the breath of life breathed into it, the animation, to animate it. And so that's what's taking place now. And so it is imperative at this time, in order to get this beast online, to get the, what do you call it, the fuel, or the work, what's it called, manpower, the manpower for it. The manpower, the people, the workers are the fuel or the animation that gives life to this beast. And this is the beast that the Bible foretold of. Didn't understand it, but got it now. And so there are particular types of people that are needed to animate this beast. This is a very unique beast in all the history of humanity. And so that's where the shifting of the people come in. This is where the promotions come in, shifting people into the appropriate people into this new beast, while filling in the gaps with these people that wouldn't work, that's even less education than other people, pushing them in where they can fit in to fill in the grooves of other beasts to keep those beasts animated. Also creating a lesser being that's subservient to this master beast. I'll call it the master beast that is coming into existence. It was something else I wanted to say, and I never thought about what it was. I'm trying to give you the message that I got. And I know y'all say, Nancy, Lord have mercy. The stuff you talk about here on your channel is supposed to be a tarot channel. But it all goes together. It all goes together. I guess since I can't think of what else it was, information, I know I was going to lose some of it. That's why I wanted to blog it, or whatever you call it, stuff, video blog it. It's like, what else was it? It was something else. I don't want to lose a part of the dream or the information that I got. What else? It was something else. It was something else. It's just interesting to me, all the time I was in the church. And I knew, I came to understand that the Bible was significant. It's not a fake book. It's just, again, a compressed file. It is a blueprint of a plan. It tells us how to get out of the situation, or how to take it. Oh, I know what it was. It was something about, remember, these beasts, is many beasts. That there is a very minor beast that's going to be ate up. That beast that's going to be eaten. I got to go do my research though. That minor beast that gets ate up is like a movement of humanity. Oh, I know. It's a movement of humanity to, I'll say this is more the righteous people. A movement to do right, to be more wholesome, and really, humanity, parts of humanity want to, uh, I'll say, unite or create a beast, but is having a hard time doing so because they don't understand. This is for the righteous. This is for the light workers and things like that. These are for the earth angels and things like that. But not being able to understand because you're in this physical body how to create this beast or spiritual being that can do battle with these, I'll say, demonic beasts. Don't understand the process to creating the spiritual being. Oh God, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it. There's going to be an attempt, major attempt, to create such a light beast or spirit, but it will itself also be consumed by this colossal devouring beast. But this is what needs to occur. Trying to hold on to it, y'all. That's what I'm frowned up. That number one, a plan has to be set up, which means humanity, primarily focusing on the U.S. Of A. There has to be a plan set up by the majority of the people that create humanity. Again, with a primary focus on the U.S. and its citizens. A common purpose or thing that creates the skeleton system. There has to be an organization, to organize the structure, the layout, the plan of the beast. And then the people, the individuals that create humanity have to be a part of that common cause and theme, interest, in order to get into that being that's being created. We're talking about a light being to battle with the dark entity beings. Get into that whole structure or system and to animate it. Meaning we humanity will have to be consciously involved in this being the parts and the components. How could this play out? Well, as I was talking about people in the military, they dedicate themselves, they take an oath to serve whatever branch of the military they select or enlist in. And that animates that particular beast. If all of those people that are in the military said, no, I'm not going to animate that beast and serve its purpose and its cause, and refuse to do it, that beast would die. All of those people come into this light spiritual being. It will make that being sit up. It would give it life. It would animate it. It would breathe breath in it. And all of those millions of soldiers, I'll say, would be the puppeteers for this spiritual being and will execute on behalf or ask that spiritual being to bring light and love back to this earth. Now, it just doesn't stop there with the military. What about all these people that have been in these various religious sectors? They said, I'm not going to follow the doctrine of this religious sector or that religious sector and do all this. I'm stopping. And I'm going over and I'm joining this plan, this structure. And I'm going to join this body of this being where all the soldiers exist. And I'm going to be a part of it. And I'm going to bring light and hope and love to this earth. This creature that I'm speaking of, the spiritual being, the positive light being, and the invisible being would further be boomed or animated or grow in its stature and therefore its power and influence in this physical world. And it will go on and on, and it depends on how many people join this common force or enter into this being. Now, if enough people in humanity were to join this common force, this particular mindset, working for a particular cause, it would become large enough itself to devour the other beings. And how would it be devouring these other beastly beings, uh, invisible spirit beings, these malevolent, demonic, dark spirit beings? How? It is because those people that animate each of those beings would forsake those beings, leave out of it, come into the light being, and those other beasts will collapse. It devoured the people out of them. Why? How? Through what means? Through through hope, through intent. The intent is to bring light and positivity back to this earth, not to wage war, not to be divided by religion, but a common thread of needing to live and to survive within this physical realm that, whether we acknowledge it or not, from the moment you pop out the womb, is an immediate a threat to you, to us, to humanity. And everything that we do here is to help us live longer. So the only answer that exists is to create our own spiritual being here on earth in order to combat these other beasts. I hope I'm explaining this right. If we do not, there is a beast that will come, and it's much more fierce and gruesome than any other beast that has yet to exist. And it will be the king of all beasts. And it will have the essence, the perfect peace from every beast that has existed. There are beasts here that exist, they've existed since antiquity. Like religion, how old is religion? That beast is a nice size, and it's been here for what's the old wasn't religion back in 1400s and things like that? That's how old that beast is, that spirit is. Or the military. When was the military first set up? That's a fairly new baby beast. Uh, the very first wars that were, a structured military in which it enlisted people. That was the birth or the creation of that particular being. And it was talked about. I saw another beast. I was introduced to like 3 or 4 I saw clearly. It was the military beast, military-based beast, the religion-based beast, this one to come, and it was something else. Did I talk about another one? I can't remember. Well, this video has been an hour, and I think I got the gist of my experience, dream, prophecy, revelation, and clarity out. I don't know who could follow me if you're interested in following me. But I have to go explore further. It's more information there. And I did see something about poisoning the beast as well. Poisoning the beast. And what beast am I talking about? Any of them. Poisoning them. And there is a poison that is out here for some of these beasts. And I'm going to tell you what the poison is made of. Like biracial people is a poison to some of these beasts. Like racism is a beast. That's a little kind of baby little spiritual beast thing. Biracial people are a poison to it and destroys that beast. It makes it sick and weak. It was something else. What else was a poison? A poison to, and we know these things. It's just I'm seeing it now through the imagery. To religion, a poison to religion is these new philosophies and viewpoints that are coming up. It's the exposure of a lot of the religious things we've learned as not being true. It wasn't that they weren't, or it's the being misled and the information being miseducated. Again, it's like being miseducated and misled relative to religious teachings. Again, it has a significance, but it was improperly taught to the people in order to, you know, brainwash them, to throw them off, to mute them. Uh, as I'm speaking about it, this is how, from the beginning, it should have been taught, but it wasn't meant to be taught that way because church, religion, and government is one and the same. You know, one and the same, playing different roles in this world for a purpose. And it is to guide the people into these various beings, entities, or invisible spirits, colossal, um, invisible spirits that are highly malevolent. And so that's where the concept of self-destruction comes in at. Because you got to remember, we are the breath to these beings. We are the life. We are what animate them. Um, and they only exist because we do the work. And so there's also a poison or a toxin to the the, the religious sector, and it is this new this awareness that, and so what am I saying? It's a planet. It's planted. It's planned. Everything is planned. A planet information. It was meant. It was meant for us to come into this time period of knowing that we've been bamboozled, miseducated, misled. Um, somebody got religious sector got thrown under the bus. They got threw under the bus. Religious sector knew what they were doing. They were commissioned to do it by other beasts or other parts of our structure, and the religion did it. And now at this point in time, religion has been thrown literally under the bus for doing what they were asked to do. And how were they thrown? Have they been thrown under the bus by it being this awareness, this consciousness fed into humanity about the wrongdoings of the church? About what? Lacking or miseducating the people, not breaking such things down as I'm talking about here in real time terms and terminology and imagery where people could clearly understand what was taking place. Boom, threw them under the bus. And so now that power, the power is now in the people's hands. It's in their consciousness. We are aware. We can process it now. So the church is a very weak and sick spiritual being that is, I can just kind of see it slithering and lumping on the ground, you know, because it's been thrown under the bus, literally ran over by the bus. And so, as I was saying, a few of these beasts that exist are sick and they're very weak, and it's for different reasons. It's different poisons have been given to these invisible beings, these invisible benevolent beasts. Religion was one of them, and whatever else I just talked about was another. And which was racism. Racism, a little baby one. Religion's a fairly big one, but it ain't the biggest one. Sick. And so it's a few of those little baby ones that are sick and dying. Again, it was intentional. All of these things were intentional, which lets us know that certain things were put in place for temporary. It was temporary. Religion was temporary. Racism was a temporary war tactic. War tactic. Again, we're working. What am I talking about? What's another complication I'm dealing with? That we're talking about spirituality, or the spirit realm, in conjunction, working hand to hand with physicality. The spirit we can't see. We only know physicality. In this video, I was talking about the spiritual aspect of it and how it has been revealed to us. We just were taught by various religious institutions. And so now those minor, insignificant beasts have been poisoned by, we can say, its creator, its own creator. Because this is central energy here that I have been able to identify that's doing all this preparation and planning. But in the Bible, I think it's referred to itself as the ultimate beast or the Antichrist. And so the system that is coming is a will be a spiritual manifestation of such a being or entity. Well, I'm gonna let you go now because I done rambled long enough, and I done blogged all of the information that I can recall right now. So I'm gonna take this time to, you know, allow again any other uh, revelation or information that wants to come through and mull over that and see where it takes me. Hopefully you can follow along, and if you did, and if you didn't get too lost in my rambling, I ask you to please like, share it, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Bye.